you see?
Yeah, guys have enough light?
When I put my glasses on.
Oh, good. No, we're good.
No, we're good,
We're good.
Dave.
You're good?
Yeah.
Dennis, are you doing these?
I'm reading for Bill. Are we ready to start?
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Bill says, although the infrared is interesting, the image lacks a central theme. There is no story being told here. The artist may benefit from stepping back a little further and giving the composition more power.
Okay, this is, excuse me, Catherine Kengott, A Barn in Winter, 20 points.
That's not it?
That's not it?
That's not it.
Look like a barn in winter to me. That's an infrared. Excuse me, let me find this, see where we're starting.
Where's the training? The first one on the top of the sheet.
1777 Elder.
Okay, Glenn Petranek, 1777 Elderon, 19 points.
Yeah.
No, we're not on the right ones, I don't think.
Yeah, here we are. This is.
Yeah,
He's right.
That's the next one on the list.
yeah.
A well-exposed, stark, and complicated arrangement. With so many objects to balance, the maker did a good job composing this frame. Attention to depth of field keeps everything nice and sharp. I would recommend dodging the upper brick a bit so that it retains some detail.
Pamela Bly Glover, B&W Roundhouse Storeroom, 19.
Okay, Gary Fong's comment. The subject matter is a little pedestrian. Show me something I haven't seen before. The viewer's eye doesn't know where to go, causing the visual balance to be in question. However, getting down to a low angle allows the view a different perspective from eye level. Try exploring different perspectives. Put the camera lens where most people do see.
Eric Weathington, Birds and Diptych, 17 points.
Bill says, this image is not technically strong, but it most definitely conveys an important message in that it depicts an actual birth and the child's first breaths. This makes for exciting storytelling.
Wally Nell, Birth, 23 points, second place.
I like the feel of this image as it is presented with lighter tones and hardly a solid black in the frame. Almost has a foggy presentation. It is a busy composition that is well balanced considering the many objects scattered throughout. As a way of simplifying the lower portion with the many horizontal lines of the concrete berms, perhaps eliminate the very bottom curb. My eye tends to fall to the many light lines at the bottom of the composition.
Jane Sidney, City Greenhouse in Winter, 18 points.
Gary Fong's comment. It would be nice to have a more defined separation from the subject and the background. From the viewer's perspective, the background separation is good on the right, but gets lost on the left. Since the grayscale of her hair on the left almost all matches the background, the distinction of subject to background gets lost. If the situation is such that people are moving around in the background, one could wait for the right moment of the subject-background definition.
Bill Keaton, Civil War Seamstress, 21 points, honorable mention.
According to Bill, this landscape has strong elements. The contrast of values, the sharp resolution from front to back within the picture frame, and the sense of action in the cloud movement all contribute to the work. I would like to see more foreground or some other compositional element.
Jane Sidney, Cloud Volcano, 20 points.
This is from Steve. An image I find a bit difficult to judge on its artistic merits as it is an image of an image. The geometric framework implies a crowded venue in a large auditorium and a large screen for the crowd to view their host. If that was the intent in formulating this image, it is technically well done. Aesthetically, not as strong of a photographic black and white image.
John Paganini, Delta Brady, 18 points.
Gary Fong's comment. I like the simplicity and contrast of the hanging light bulb. It can tell a number of different stories. Nice, even lighting, nice texture in the dark background that lends a hint of times past.
Bob Kowaleski, Dreams Lost Forever, 22 points, third place.
Bill's comment, this is not a strong image. It isn't in focus. The flower could be so much more interesting with greater contrast and better placement of the stamen, pistil, etc.
John Fondren, flower number 12, 18 points.
Stephen. Simple nature close-up photograph presented simply. In monochrome, the lighting here is presenting the surfaces of the subject very well. The overall centering of the item makes the presentation a little bland, except for the slightly diagonal stem breaking up the symmetry.
Ron Werman, flower late in life, 20 points.
Gary Fong says, when I see snow, it should feel textured. The snow in this picture is gray. There is no clean white for the viewer's eye to collaborate seeing. Try printing for a clean white somewhat in the image down to a black. One should have both extremes in a properly printed image.
Graham Stead, Fog on Silent Haunches, 17 points.
Bill says, the image lacks contrast in the ice formation. It has little variation in value gradation throughout the photo. It doesn't invite the viewer in or raise anything thought-provoking.
Catherine Kengott, Frozen Falls, 17 points.
Repetition is a familiar theme in black and white images. This one does well in presenting an interesting man-made pattern, very good exposure and clean tone separation. A simple technique that would add a bit more interest would be to tilt the camera and present the display diagonally, or make this a panorama aspect ratio, removing one row of the triangles to make an odd number of rows, 5 versus 6.
Paul Giglia, Geometric Architecture, 22 points, third place.
Gary Fong's comment. I like the geometric design contrasted with the softer luminance. It would be nicer if it had a defined subject, like a person, to give size relationship.
John Paganini, Geometric Sky, 17 points.
Bill's comment, the photo is a pleasant snapshot of a happy person. It doesn't have any drama or intention beyond the record of a moment. The horse is the best part of the photo.
Kim Wojciechowski, Grace and Journey, 19 points.
A strong visual that gives the illusion of motion at first glance. The center is a bit burned out, but it does not distract too much. A darker exposure would provide more ability to play with the contrast overall and in select areas. To make the image a bit stronger, placing the middle of the flower off-center in the frame would make the composition more interesting.
Bill Keaton, Heart of the Dandelion, 17 points.
Gary Fong says, it's a nice image, good contrast, but creates too many questions like, what is it? It would be nice to have a defined subject like a car driving down the road.
Joe DiStefano, Highway to the Stars, 17 points.
Bill's comment, the photo has humor in its implication that what looks like a child is in a desperate situation, which is obviously simulated. I was troubled by the lack of depth of field. I would have preferred to have the image in better focus from front to back. Shallow depth of field works for some images. I don't think it helped this one.
Lance Mayer, Houston, I have a problem, 17 points.
A plain flower presentation that is well lit and sharp front to back. The center white area is a bit hot and could be darkened a bit for more interest. The off-center nature in this image is not necessary. It can handle being centered perfectly.
Dave Saborik, Iris, 19 points.
Gary Fong says, the composition seems to throw the viewer's eyes in different directions. Try to find the right angle where the eye is moving gracefully through the composition.
Carmela Orban, Lampposts, 17 points.
According to Bill, this is an interesting take on Ye Olde Staircase. There is a good range of values. The artist's perspective is unique and the composition is strong.
Glenn Petranik, Main Library Stairs, 23 points, second place.
Stephen says, an image that is two images actually. The frame could be divided near the middle into separate left and right images. The area of interest for me is the left side with the rock arch and the skies behind it, a perfectly square frame. The distant mountains in the upper right makes this image a bit busy. Simplifying the number of elements here would do well.
David Korosek, Mobius Arch, Alabama Hills, California, 21 points, honorable mention.
Gary's comment, the crop sun jars the eye movement too far to the right. The eye fights to return to the left side of the frame to appreciate the tree limbs. I would try placing the sun behind the tree, holding the entire composition and interest on the print.
DJ Casanidi, Morning Fog, 17 points.
Bill says the two images side by side don't have a compelling intention. It's trees shown from afar and then close up. Neither image is in sharp focus and there doesn't seem to be a strong message in either image, separately or together in composite.
Eric Wethington, Nature and Diptych, 17 points.
A moment of music exposed and focused very well. Compositionally, the right side of the frame in shadow makes the image seem off balance and therefore may be cropped. The subject faces to the right and the instrument leaves enough space to the right of him to give the composition breathing space.
Gary Merrick, NOLA sousaphone musician, 22 points, third place.
Gary's comment, I like the eye contact to the viewer. However, the viewer's eye is being drawn away by the hot spot shoulder. Try burning it down a bit.
Gary Merrick, NOLA street vendor, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill says, the extensive processing of the image, for me, detracts from what is a pretty interesting and well-composed photo. I would have much preferred to see this one looking more like a photo rather than a drawing through the post-manipulation.
Joe Zabka, Playhouse Square, 18 points.
Stephen says, well exposed and in sharp focus. This calm water scene in black and white contains a lot of blank spaces. The sky is empty of any clouds or detail, and there is a lot of it. The area of most interest here is the reflection in the water with its many ripples mirroring the boat.
Jordan Tetzel, Sail to Nowhere, 17 points.
Gary Fong's comment. I like the graphic nature of this composition. It would be even better to have more graphic print. Try printing it darker or more contrast so that it has a clear white and black.
Dennis Wirt, Sutler's Landing Windows, 17 points.
Bill says, this image checks a lot of boxes. The depth of field adds drama. The range of values gives the photo a strong presentation. The composition is unique, but it works. Good job.
Dave Saborik, Short-Eared Owl 3, 22 points, third place.
Stephen says, a Cleveland landmark that has a distinctive arrangement of copper spires glowing in the sun. This harsh black and white presentation implies an infrared approach with a dramatic dark sky in the background. A tilt of the camera would render this with a bit more interest or even closer upward angle, a subject always worth revisiting.
Pamela Bly Glover, St. Theodosius in the Spring, 19 points.
Gary Fong says, I like the stormy feeling of the print. I'm not sure the foreground forest does much for the drama of the clouds. Try making it a very horizontal, cropping portions of the forest below.
Jackie, and I'm sorry about your last name,
Meredith.
Meredith. Storm Approaching, 22 points, third place.
Bill's comment, there is much to commend this image. The waves are dramatic. The scope of the overall landscape seascape is powerful. The bird adds visual interest. The thing I have trouble with is the pier. It's an ugly feature that doesn't help all of the other good things about the image.
Marge Brady, Stormy Day, 22 points, third place.
Stephen says, a well-composed frame within a frame effect here. The chair's natural illumination draws attention to it as a secondary point of interest. Both the diffused and direct lighting shows off the worn wood and finishes very well. Shadows have good detail as well.
Bob Kowaleski, The Last Seat in the House, 18 points.
Gary Fong says, I like the contrast which accentuates the visual drama, but I'm a bit mystified about what it is.
Denise Meekins, Twilight Truffle, 19 points.
According to Bill, this photo is fine technically. However, the subject is not strong. Nice wheel, nice wall, but as a viewer, I don't find anything to engage me aesthetically or intellectually.
Melanie Plummer, Wagon Wheel, 19 points.
From Stephen, a good composition of those intricate shapes and repetitious elements. The exposure of the lower steps are overexposed, and based on its mass, should draw your attention, which it does. However, it could be darkened a bit to avoid drawing too much attention.
Susan Bestel, Zigzag Stairs, 17 points.
Gary Fong's comment, I like the tones, technically very nice. However, I also like to have size relationship with people with this giant machine. Try watching people checking out the engine will provide the right context.
Jordan Tetzel, 1293, 20 points.
Bill says, I have shot thousands of flowers in my career, and find them to be fascinating subjects. My objection to this image is that the rose overlaid is out of focus without a logical artistic reason. When we make composite images, I feel there should be a purpose. I can't find one in this one.
Jen Cockrell, A Rose After a Rain, 15 points.
Sorry. From Stephen. You can feel the soft texture of this image thanks to very soft lighting and good exposure technique. Adding a bit more space around the flower would give a bit more breathing room to the composition. Well done.
John Fondren, Dandelion with Hat, 21 points, honorable mention.
Gary Fong says, I like the simplicity, but I notice the lower legs are lighter than the top of the chair. The lightness draws the eye down rather than providing a balanced visual impact with the entire chair. Try dogging, I think he means dodging, the top a bit to match the bottom.
Carmela Orban, Folding Chair, 19 points.
Bill's comment, I can only assume that the artist was utilizing intentional camera movement, ICM. It is not the best example of the technique. If I'm wrong in that assumption, it's just an improperly focused photo. The pose and the storytelling has strength, but the ICM is, for me, distracting.
Daniel Sandy, I think I've had enough, 17 points.
An interesting arrangement with unusual warping of metal gears suggesting the maker was having a good time creating this fanciful eye catcher. The bronze overall coloring suggests all natural color was stripped off and replaced for the final presentation. The image has the appearance of a piece of metalwork in an art museum display.
Joe DeStefano, Jake Gearing, 21 points, honorable mention.
Gary Fong's comment. I like the gray tones and would have to look at a hard copy print to see if the skin tones are about right. The first time I looked at the digital version, felt a bit light on the woman. However, it would be nice to have the two center columns about the same density, creating a nice visual balance. The column on the left is a bit darker than the right center column.
Susan Bestel, Lady at Hale Farm, 20 points.
Bill says, who doesn't love babies? This is a nice portrait with a decent composition and use of values. I would recommend a little smaller aperture to get the child's eyes in focus as a minimum.
Kim Wojciechowski, May, 21 points, honorable mention.
From Stephen, brilliant capture and final treatment of tones in this windy image of a massive mountainside. The foreground toothpick-sized trees really imply the enormous scale of the landscape. Beautiful whites in the snow contrasting with the black sky make this an image to remember.
Terry Martin, Mountain Mists, 22 points, third place.
Gary Fong. It's an interesting effect in that it holds the viewer's attention. However, the scene feels a little too busy. Try isolating the sewing machine bobbins in one extremely shallow plane of focus, throwing the detailed background clutter out of the focus.
Bonnie Luxco, Old Singer Sewing Machine, 17 points.
Bill says, this photo is excellent technically. There is a sense of place that is inviting. My only criticism is that I would have liked to have seen a little tighter composition to eliminate most of the rock wall base around the tree. Almost everything else in the picture is about the desert. The power poles and lines are fine because they add perspective, but that rock wall has too much of a connection to that which is made by man rather than the natural beauty otherwise conveyed here.
David Korosek, Owens Valley Joshua Tree, 20 points.
Excellent capture, not only technically in terms of exposure and focus, but with regards to composing such an imposing creature. Although the eye is centered in the frame, the overall placement of the body scales throws off the feeling of symmetrical image. Bravo.
Joe Smith, Poisonous Snakes, 26 points, first place.
Wow, nice.
Gary Fong says, nice cityscape, but it feels like the balance is a little off. Try cropping the right side, making the image more symmetrical, both on a horizontal and vertical axis.
Denise Meekins, Reflection on the Cuyahoga, 22 points, third place.
Oh, good. Good. Nice. Bill's comment, this image is a classically composed still life. I like the fallen petals, the decomposing blooms, the reflection in the lower part of the vase, and the fabric folds around it. What I feel the picture needs is a greater range of values and a smidge more depth of field. The fabric is just kind of lost in the otherwise well executed photo.
Melanie Plummer, Senescence, 20 points.
A vertical capture that shows an obvious desire to eliminate the appearance of converging lines of such tall buildings. The vertical lines are plumb to a fault, but if the maker was intent on correcting this phenomenon wholly for effect, they succeeded. Having two buildings as the subjects makes the viewer switch back and forth visually and decide which is more interesting.
Dennis Wirt, Silo City, 18 points.
Gary says, nice tones on the church, creating a very Gothic feel. It would be nice if there were a person in the composition for size relationships. When shooting architecture, try to keep the walls straight rather than conical.
Wally Nell, Snowy Building, 19 points.
Bill comments, the subject is interesting owing to the worn, decomposing nature of the building. I'd like a bit more contrast. The slim beyond on the left side edge is distracting. I would either pull the image in tighter and eliminate that altogether, or open things up and show more of what's beyond the building. A figure sitting on the bench would have been a welcome addition as well.
Lance Mayer, Tarts, 20 points.
An eerie scene enhanced by creative burning and dodging, no doubt. I like the overall feel of the composition, especially relating to the sky and trees. I feel the foreground plants could be left a bit darker to keep them from competing heavily with the upper half of the frame and appearing a bit too artificially light for the actual landscape.
Graham Stead, That'll Be Air of the Set of the Sun, 19 points.
Gary's comment, nice eye movement. However, having a person in the frame could add to the story of who, what, and where.
Paul Gilia, That's a Lot of Wine, 22 points, third place.
I'm sorry?
I think for no comment, Chris, just start reading score.
Catherine Kengott, A Barn in Winter, 20 points. Terry Martin, Battling Birds, 24 points, second place. Eric Botsky, Calm Summer Flight, 21 points, honorable mention. Rick Mills, Coast Guard Station, 17 points. Joe DeStefano, Courthouse Steps, 19 points. Richard Ader, Geisha's on the Phone, 21 points, honorable mention. Joe Smith, Great Salt Lake Bison, 20 points. Paul Gilia, Infinite Possibilities, 22 points, honorable mention. Donna Schneider, just hanging in there, 24 points, second place.
American Patriot. Yeah.
Joe Smith, Lake Tahoe Beach, 19 points. Dave Korosek, Leaf on the Edge, 21 points, honorable mention. Susan Bestel, Let's Dance, 21 points, honorable mention. Rick Mills, Lighthouse on Ice, 17 points. Susan Mahorsic, Mingus Mill, 20 points. Susan Mahorsic, Mingus Mill Waterfall, 21 points, honorable mention. Eric Botsky, Misty Morning Lake, 19 points. Dennis Wirt, Movie Memory, 20 points. Jordan Tetzel, Mysterious Lake House, 17 points. Terry Martin, Northern Lights over Lofoten, 20 points. Donna Schneider, Playing in the Rain, 22 points, honorable mention. Denise Meekins, Pretty in Pink, 23 points, third place.
Yay.
Melanie Plummer, Quarry Falls, 19 points. Wally Nell, Rainy Day High Jump, 25 points, first place. Ron Werman, Rock Hall at Twilight, 19 points. Marge Brady, Sticking the Landing, 18 points. Jen Cockrell, Swan at River Styx Park, 16 points. Daniel Sandy, The Devil's Angels, 17 points. Lance Mayer, This Bird Can't Read, 19 points. John Fondren, Three Roses, 19 points. Graham Stead, Tree on Lake Erie, 17 points. Richard Schneider, Two of a Feather, 18 points. Daniel Sandy, Winter Bend, 19 points. DJ Casanidi, Winter Spring, 18 points. Richard Ader, Woman in the Doorway, 22 points, honorable mention. Gary Marich, American Patriot, 17
Whoa,
points.
whoa,
Or in the comments.
okay.
Bill
That-
says the pose and the subject make for quite a nice portrait. The splotches of color on the arms and hands don't add much to the image. If the artist defocused the face, I'd say that was a decision that did not improve the picture. The technique could have worked if the eyes were in sharp focus. The eyes are, in my opinion, the most important aspect of any photo of a person or other living creature.
Gary Marich, American Patriot, 17 points.
From Stephen. Wonderful placement of subject for scale in this vast man-made plaza. Good exposure and focus with even lighting making for good colors throughout the frame. The overall tone of the image is warm with a cool sky for contrast.
Glenn Petranik, Assisi, 20 points.
Gary's comment. I like the single direct light source and the range from pure white to a black. If you wanted to add a bit more details to the bottom right, one could use a white reflective card to accomplish a bit more illumination.
Pamela, and your name is cut off again. B&O Roundhouse Detail, 18 points.
Bill's comment, what is the meaning of this image beyond that it is an abstract presentation of an architectural feature? The warm colors are winning. Transition from light to dark is appealing. The two figures add interest, but I don't know what the artist is trying to convey.
Ron Werman, Concert Hall Geometry, 21 points, honorable mention.
A pairing of flowers that creates an abstract, almost human-like composite. This could be the start of an inkblot test. I wonder what the image would look like with a black background. It would make the colors pop even more in my mind.
Jane Sidney, Double Beauty, 20 points.
Gary's comment. The point of the image seems to be the waterfall, but the eye movement gravitates to the top of the frame, providing nothing interesting below. Trying looking for a secondary, or better yet, primary subject to allow the eye to gracefully move around the composition.
DJ Casaniti, Double Decker Falls, 17 points.
Bill comments, this is a marvelous and exciting picture showing the dedication of the lion dancers to their craft. The rain is palpable. The colors are exciting. The composition is strong. The transition of the washed out light above to the somewhat shaded area around the figures is fine. I like it.
Richard Ader, Dragon in the Rain, 21 points, honorable mention.
Windy Lake Erie and the slanted ice shown here so clearly illustrates the gusty breezes present at the lakeshore. Good exposure and composition here. The late day sun is placing a warm glow on both the ice and pier. Cool blue sky adds the contrast.
Catherine Kedgott, Edgewater Pier, 20 points.
It's not matching what I have here. What I have next is Edgewater Willow. There you go. The image has Gary says, the image has a nice feel for the time past. I like to have a subject, person walking maybe, in the composition which could create more interest for the viewer.
Rick Mills, Edgewater Willow, 19 points.
Bill says the colors seem to be overly saturated. The composition is interesting, and I feel that if the artist had toned it down a bit, the picture would be much stronger.
John Paganini, Global Perspective, 18 points.
Simplicity is obvious here, and the colors really work in this composition. The subject is almost too simple. It seems a bouncing ball off the rim or a jet in the sky would offset the static presentation. Muted colors work, though.
Eric Wethington, Hoops in Film, 19 points.
Gary says, bats. Nice stop action, nice lighting. I'm not sure how much control you had with these bats, but subject separation would allow for more clarity of the subject.
Richard Schneider, Night Watch, 22 points, honorable mention.
Bill comments, the orchid is delightful in the photo. There is a nice balance created by the depth of field. The color is muted just enough and the composition is thought stimulating.
Dave Saborik, Orchid, 21 points, honorable mention.
An underwater delight well captured. It is both technically and compositionally a very strong image. The almost monochrome background allows the flower's colors to really project here. Razor sharp throughout, and although the flower is centered, it does not weaken the overall look.
Jill Zapka, Pretty in Ink, 23 points, third place.
Gary says, if the idea is to show the stamps, the background printing press confuses the context. Try moving the stamps more in the foreground, allowing the old printing press image to be more secondary to the story.
Bill Keaton, Printer's Blocks, 18 points.
Bill says, this one is a bit overly saturated for my taste. The composition is uncomfortable because the boatman woman is leaving the frame by being too close to the picture's edge. If the artist had placed the tree more to the right, the person in the boat would be entering the frame rather than leaving it. There's a lot going on from the center to the left edge and nothing of interest on the entire right side of the picture, with the tree cutting the image in half.
Donna Schneider, Sunrise on Lake Martin, 20 points.
Well exposed and focused silhouette that compositionally has a bit too much space on the left side that is not needed in this excellent image. Cropping the left half and presenting the tree and sunset in an almost square aspect ratio would simplify and strengthen this image at the same time.
Eric Botsky, Sunset on the Masimara, 18 points.
Gary's comment, nice drama in the clouds. Nice eye movement from the road to the mountains. If a forest creature was walking on the road, it would contribute to the mood.
Bob Kowaleski, The Mountains Are Calling, 21 points, honorable mention.
Bill says, this is a moody, subtle treatment that gives the feeling that the viewer is out on the bog with the artist. The light transitions are well done and the limited color palette adds power and drama to the photo.
Marge Brady, The Swamp at Dawn, 22 points, honorable mention.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it, Fort Pitt.
And that concludes our evening. Thank you for coming.
It's on the bottom.